Hey there, I'm Cronky, and the question that we are going to be answering is, can you beat Dark Souls 3 by using only the Dark Hand? So, the Dark Hand is an interesting weapon, and some that have played Dark Souls 3 may not even know that the Dark Hand is a weapon that's obtainable within the game. So, in order to obtain the Dark Hand, the player must recruit Yhorm of Londor. However, that is just the first step. Yhorm mentions that he can tease out our inner strength by using the Dark Sign. The player must do this 5 times before defeating the Abyss Watchers, otherwise the Dark Hand is unobtainable. Drawing out your strength 5 times will lead to Yul's death, and Yuria of Londor will appear. Yuria is the character that sells the Dark Hand to the player, so the quickest that the Dark Hand can be obtained is after defeating Vort and drawing out your strength as soon as Yul is recruited. So the main reason I really wanted to do this challenge run is because I've never used a fist weapon in a Souls game, and I've always thought that the Dark Hand just looked cool. So knowing that the Dark Hand is a weapon that cannot be upgraded and gets very little scaling from leveling up, I just never used it. However, it's certainly made for a great challenge run. So the properties of the Dark Hand are interesting, as when held in the left hand it acts as a shield that will block 65% of all damage types. And the heavy attack is a grab attack, where you basically just suck the life force of an enemy. Unfortunately, the grab attack only works for NPC type enemies, and it doesn't even work on Sister Fried. When held in the right hand, it has a very basic fist moveset, and the actual damage of the Dark Hand is split between physical and dark damage. And so to actually start discussing the bosses, so Udex Gundyr, Vort, and the Cursed Greatwood, there's really not much to discuss, as these bosses were very easy, very little difficulty, and I gave myself the Dark Hand, so we're not even supposed to have the Dark Hand at that point in the game, so those fights are pretty easy. So next is the Crystal Sage, and the Crystal Sage is just always a pain because of the teleporting away, the duplicates, and the Crystal Soul Spear spam. However, we got incredibly lucky, and I was able to beat him on the first try. Thank you. Bye-bye. Then the Deacons. So Deacons were also beat first try, however using a fist weapon against them was just horrible. So usually my strategy to beat this boss is pretty much just damage all the enemies, which with a weapon that has some reach allows you to hit maybe 4 or 5 enemies at once. I would dwindle down most of the Deacons' health bars to maybe about where they're one shot, and then when that light would switch to a new Deacon, you could pretty much just cut them down immediately. But all in all, we were able to get out of there with the skin of our teeth. Fuck off! I would've been fucking pissed. Fucking pissed. He would've lived. Then we have the Abyss Watchers. So this fight is the first one I genuinely struggled a little bit on. So the Abyss Watchers moveset is fast, and in that first phase, getting attacked by the gank squad can just be a horrible time with a fist weapon due to the reach. The only saving grace is that the Abyss Watchers are really kind of pushovers when it comes to their poise, so any hit would stagger them, and is really the main reason I was able to skirt out of there with a victory. Fuck you. I'm not excited for the rest of the game. Then, really not much to say about Wolnir. He's just a pushover gimmick fight where you gotta attack the bracelets, and I did not have any difficulty there. Old Demon King, once again, not really much to say. The moveset's very forgiving, and the majority of attacks are just so incredibly telegraphed. There's a couple that are a bit faster, but for the most part, this fight's real easy. Now, I was really worried about Pontiff Sullivan. So I did not really remember what Sullivan's weaknesses or strengths or resistances were. And so I was worried that we were going to do little to no damage. Now, luckily, the amount of damage that we did was okay. The one thing that irritated the absolute shit out of me, though, is that the range of fist weapons are bad. So that means you have to be up every boss's ass to even hit them. But with Sullivan, he actually has a dead zone on his left hip where my character could not physically get any closer, and my attacks would just whiff a lot of the time. So while this was irritating, we got incredibly lucky because it is possible to kill Sullivan's clone without it even getting one attack off. And when he summons that clone, I was actually able to attack the clone and him, so pretty much it just resulted in free damage against Sullivan each time he did it, and that was how we ended the fight. Fuck you. Yes! Fuck you! Whew, God got my fucking heart pumping. Whew. Now Aldrich. Ooh, Aldrich was another fight that I was really dreading because of that spammy, horrible arrow spell that he loves to summon. And so, while this fight was definitely a slog and I did not have any fun fighting him, I was somehow able to manipulate his AI so that in the second phase, he never used that arrow spell, so we were able just to kick his butt and move on. Now, Yhorm. So, Yhorm is a gimmick fight with the Storm Ruler. However, we can't use that, and all we've got are our 2 fistfuls of humanity. Now, using a normal weapon, it is actually possible to stagger Yhorm, and then you can get a critical attack on his head, but that is just not possible with the Dark Hand. So I really actually had Yhorm on my first try, but something happened that I've never encountered in this freaking game. My weapon broke. So this meant I started doing half damage, which I was already doing pitiful damage. So I just lost the plot right there at the end and died at the worst possible time in the fight, because I was maybe 20 hits away from killing Yhorm. Such a huge disappointment. I almost just put the controller down. However, I ain't no loser, ain't no baby. So I threw myself at Yhorm 2 more times until I finally beat him. So, who needs Storm Ruler when you can just hit him like 600 times in the ankles? Fucking kick. Fuck you, Yhorm. You stupid bitch. Jesus Christ. Now, Dancer, not much to say here. The Dancer is weak to dark damage, and it just resulted in a fairly easy fight. Beat him first try. Osiris. I have never liked fighting Osiris, and I was definitely reminded why in this fight. So, his first phase, he just spams this just piece of shit AoE attack around him, and it just makes the fight long, because you just can't be near him. And then in his second phase, he has this one move that just makes the whole fight total BS, and that is his charging attack. There is little to no visual warning when he's going to charge, especially when you're right next to him, which we have to be to even hit him with the fist weapon. So I had my health leveled up to maybe 35 at the time, which is a very large health pool, and I leveled Vitality a lot so I could wear heavier armor and still light roll. Even with that, getting hit just 2 times with that charge attack would be enough to kill my character. Now, thankfully, we did not have to throw ourselves at him for too long before we won. Champion Gundyr. Now, I really just wanted to fight Gundyr, hence the reason why we even fought Osiris, because they're not necessary to beat the game. So Champion Gundyr's fight really just plays out like an intense duel, which I love trading blows and having to keep on my toes. I just love this fight, and I'm sure I remembered his moveset, which is why we were able to first try him. No! I thought I was gonna fucking fall down. I thought I was gonna fall off the fucking cliff. Now for the first boss that really put me on my ass, the Dragonslayer Armor. And let me tell you, just absolutely screw the damn elevator ride to the boss. Like, why is it so slow? And why do the hardest bosses in this game have the worst boss runs? It just does not make sense. Anyways, my strategy for this boss has always just been to keep my distance, which was not possible with the Dark Hand. So I just got a huge slap in the face for how easy of a time I've had up until this point. and I had to really just learn the moveset. After about an hour, something finally clicked, and we slapped back. Fuck you! Holy shit! Holy fuck! And now the Twin Princes. Now this was really the pinnacle of difficulty for this run. I spent over an hour throwing myself at the Twin Princes, which the issue really was just understanding when to attack without getting caught by Lorien's fast as hell attacks. So basically at the end of any combo by Lorien, you can get one hit in with a Dark Hand. However, if he swings his sword basically like he's hitting you with a backhand, you can get 2 hits in. Besides for this back and forth, really the name of the game was just dodging. So interestingly, in the second phase, the easiest strategy was actually just to skirt towards Lorien's back so that hits on him would hit both Lothric and Lorien. Took me a lot of tries, but we made it, we got out of it.
Ashen One, you remain among the accursed.
Whew! Jesus Christ. And finally, the final boss, the Soul of Cinder. So, this is actually the only fight I use the summon for, which, sue me if you don't dig that, because I don't care. I definitely did not remember Soul of Cinder's moveset, so that was another learning curve. And I eventually figured out that the Pale Shade of Londor was the best summon, and I would not summon Yuria. I'm not sure on everybody else's opinions on the Soul of Cinder, but it's just not my favorite boss. For the first phase, Soul of Cinder switches between a greatsword, a pike, curved sword, which is a pyromancy, and is capable of parrying the player in that mode, and then a sorcery mode. I decided to bring in the summon because the curved sword mode is just plain unfair in a melee fight. In a one-on-one fight, it was just impossible to get a hit in with the Dark Hand without getting immediately hit back. So instead of just running away to force a mode change, I decided to summon the Phantom. When it comes to the second phase, I actually just despise the stupid 5-hit combo that just hits like a total truck. I mean, likely a skill issue, as I'm sure there are those of you who can easily avoid that attack. But I was the one with the controller, so that just didn't happen. Without changing any of my strategy and just using brute force by throwing myself repeatedly at the boss, we kicked the shit out of the Soul of Cinder. Yeah. Oh my god. Fuck you! Oh, I was so worried I wasn't gonna be able to do it. I had a lot of fun with this playthrough, as I've never used a fist weapon, and I've always thought the Dark Hand just looked awesome. Obviously by utilizing the Dark Hand, we of course had to become the Lord of Hollows with the Usurpation of Fire ending. So, can you beat Dark Souls 3 with just the Dark Hand? With a lot of patience and pain, it is certainly possible. Damn right.